certain roles and responsibility basically, but I just try to capture the major one which we can just understand. So monitoring also there as a as a DevOps engineer. Sometimes there will be a separate monitoring team in the project, but at least you should have at least one go through what's going on with the resource utilization or any log monitoring, any error logs out there. At least when you log in basically in your day-to-day activities basically. Okay, so infrastructure monitoring is one of the responsibility over there. Release management, obviously, if you have any deployments in the pipeline. So process normally we follow, definitely we should have a Jira ticket over there. I'm just trying to explain with the current projects on the basis basically. In the other project there might be a different process they follow. It's a depend on your project manager who is handling and the decided basically according to their standard. Okay, so but we are as a release management we are using Jira ticket there. And normally task wise we create one Jira ticket there. Okay, and for the release ticket we created separate ticket which will the tagging basically with the release basically rel slash the ticket number whatever there is the Jira ticket basically. And in that Jira ticket we need to mention all the steps basically, what the changes we are trying to deploy. Okay, what is the rollback strategy, who is the developer, write down the code basically, and who are trying to who is the deployment basically deployment person, or we can say simply DevOps person name, and who is your project manager name or something. There is some certain process we need to add in the ticket basically. This might be the different different to different depend on the project basically and your company standard, but we are following this way. And in the release, before releasing, we are using the github. GitHub, there we need to create one tag basically from the master branch. Okay, this is for the stable release basically. If the certain things going on like any problem after the deployment, so we can have a stable branch there, a tag basically, so from there we can just roll back basically in that situation. Okay, so I will show you that in the upcoming next session, in the in as part of the branching strategy. So it will more clear on that. Okay, so release management we follow that process. We should have a Jira ticket, and we have a maintain down cycle basically. So Friday we mostly not do the deployment just to for the monitoring aspect, because if let's say we and the late evening basically we avoid to deploy anything basically on the production environment, because we should have some monitoring time, right, after the deployment at least 3 4 hours. If there are any certain surge in the utilization of the CPU memory or something because of any changes whatever, so we try to prefer on the Monday basically, because we will get the sufficient time for the monitoring and troubleshooting if there are any things come. Okay, and for the further status like a branching strategy, we will see in the branching strategy how we create the branch and what is the different kind of branching strategy there, and how we can deploy it production. Okay, we will separately cover that. But these are the part of the roles and responsibility basically release management. Okay, and for the release management, it's again depend on the project to project and the company to company. Some might use GitHub Actions, some might use Go CD, some might use Jenkins pipeline or other way basically. There are lots of tools in the market. Okay, version controls, obviously most of the organization use GitHub. Okay, or sometimes company use GitLab there, or any I think Circle CI also there, for the or Bitbucket I think. So these are the other tools as well.
Circle CI is for the integration, like
Yeah,
Jenkins.
but Bitbucket I think you can use, right?
Yeah, Bitbucket and Git.
Hmm. So but most of the organization use GitHub as according to my experience, but again it's depend to company, so they might use different tools over there. Cost optimization basically, when you design any architecture in the AWS cloud or any cloud basically, so you should follow the standard practice as the AWS suggests. Follow the six framework pillars basically. So you should not create a unnecessary large scale of the hard drive there or storage or instance type basically. So you just need to focus on the when you design the any architecture of the infrastructure, So you should just first get the proper requirement and understanding, like how much traffic workload basically. According to that, you just need to consider these points as a part of the cost optimization. Okay, if there are any resources unnecessary utilized and no one is using, okay, so this you can just take action as part of the auditing there, and you can just delete those resources if there is no use cases basically. Okay. And incident management, let's say you have a production environment and you get any alerts basically. Okay. If you are personally managing the monitoring the infrastructure, or some might maybe different situation, like there is a level 1 team basically, L1, they might report you there is something alert we received. So just in that situation you might just do the troubleshooting part basically with the incident management. Like there might be a different Slack channels, or if you are using Teams, Microsoft Teams, there might be a different alerting channels basically, where you need to put the message like acknowledgement or something. I am working on that this alert basically. This way you can just handle as part of the incident management. For the log management, this is for the log visualization, monitoring. You can use Grafana for that, or some might use ELK stack there, or some might use Nagios. It's again different use cases basically, different tools in the market. So you can just use that log management for the logging monitoring basically. And ISC deployments, which is similar to Terraform or CDK basically, or you might use a cloud formation if you want to create any resources in the cloud basically, any cloud. So you can just try to create your Jira ticket first, and then write down the whatever you have stack file there in the let's say Terraform, and you can just do the changes for the in the pipeline basically. And if you have any modification, like you want to upgrade your instance type or something, or you want to add one more bucket, then you can just write down according to your stack file, and you can just do the deployment for that. If you have any resource deletion, let's say you have one instance there, and you have a task completed, now there is no use case of that instance, right? So you can just remove that code from the your Terraform files state file, and you can just deploy that. Okay. Backup and restore, obviously when you design the architecture, you should take the backup, depends on how much retention period. It's depend on the criticalness. Okay, 7 days or 1 month something. So for the any failure perspective, you can just manage the backup and restore their process. RCA is basically, have you heard about the RCA, root cause analysis?
Yes.
Okay, so you might be meet this kind of situation where if you have a running production server, there might be a different issues you will face. So you need to submit one RCA report basically. In that report, different project follow different template basically for the RCA, but the main area is like what is the issue basically. You need to mention there how much time it take to resolve, and what action you have taken basically, and what is the impact of the time period basically, what is the business impact. There might be a different template, but I am just explaining this way. So in that RCA report, you need to add all the details basically. Jira and Confluence, I think you already aware. We use Jira for the ticketing system, and Confluence for the any if you have any infrastructure document, like we are using Confluence for the documentation. Like we are adding the steps basically, how to create the Lambda functions and the API gateway or other resources basically. How what steps we taken care, and which things basically infrastructure information basically as similar to inventory. So we added in the Confluence documentation over there in the project. So you can use that for the documentation perspective. Info audit, it's again depend on the project and the standard basically, company standard. Some might you there might be a external auditing team which audit your account basically, AWS account, and they might they might be use any other tools, or they might personally check through the any auditing services in the AWS. Okay, guard duty or something, they use that tools to analyze your AWS account basically. So, or sometimes we personally we can just quarterly do the auditing basically for the infrastructure. Meeting attending meeting means your daily scrum meeting or stand up, basically to give the updates and take the updates basically. So these are the some day to day activities. Client call, if there is a any client call schedules for a project requirement or any discussion normally, any further changes, updates, or anything basically. So you know to take part of that. Teams discussion, this is just for the internal purpose. If there are any discussion required, then we can just take a infra management, similar to as I already explained for the terraform file based changes basically. If you want to add delete or any create a modification resources. Troubleshooting, obviously if you have any production issues or any other related to pipeline issues for or any dependent packages issue or any, suppose if you have a case cluster, then you might get different troubleshooting there. So this is also part of that. Team collaboration, this is just if you have any requirement, so before setting anything in the infrastructure, you can just need to collaborate within the team basically first to understand the requirement clearly before design and create any infrastructure by using ISE tool basically. Okay, this is just for the collaboration part. User management in AWS, we don't do like user creation in the AWS IMA service. There might be a company wide AD use integration basically. But if you get any requirement like create one role basically, cross account role, which we have already seen in the last session. Okay, cross account access, so there might be you need roles, right, with the proper permission. So in that case, you will get this kind of activities. Continuous learning, obviously if we, apart from the day to day activities and the roles, this is just, I just added additional part. It's not part of the uh, roles and responsibility. This is just a additional learning point of view. I have just added. If you, after this certain deployments and the other general regular tasks basically, if you get any free time, so you can use that free time to learn new things, or any your interested area basically, so you can utilize that time. Diplomatic skill is just another way basically. Sometimes you might face this issue or not, I'm not sure, but there might be a, what we can say, there might be a some other project manager basically, or any team basically, team members or team lead. They might you unnecessary make you trouble basically with the you might there might be a their fault in the coding or something, but they try to blame on you, like deployment fail ho gaya or something, right. There might be a different situation in the project, different. So in that situation, you need to handle the diplomatic way. So just don't try to write down any odd word in the mail thread basically, because it is a written statement, so there might be a escalation part. So you can just use diplomatic skill there just to handle proper way. So this is just a additional part.